Hello and welcome to episode number 11 in the Let's Build Shadowgate series. We're getting ready to wrap up this series, and in fact this might be the final episode of the Let's Build Shadowgate series. But thus far we've put together a pretty solid game. Now it's not long by any stretch of the imagination. We have more or less 4 screens and 1 object, an inventory, and a win and lose condition. So the average person won't play this for more than 5 or 10 seconds, but the concepts we've talked about building throughout the Let's Build Shadowgate series are things that you can take in to build much larger games and much more complex games. The last thing that I want to do with our current game is just add some simple sound effects and maybe some music so that it feels like more of a finished product. So let's head on over to the Alice programming window and get started. So here we are in the world that we left episode 10 with, and in episode number 10, if you remember correctly, we added the ability to click on the sword, have the sword slide over to the player's inventory, and remain there as they traveled through the rest of the game. If they had the sword, they would win when they clicked on the Banshee, and of course, if they skipped picking up the sword and clicked on the Banshee, it would cause them to lose the game. What I want to do now is import a couple sound files, and I think I put 2 of them in the graphics pack. The sound of a door opening and kind of some heroic sting music. We're going to add that into our game to give it a little bit of personality. So the first thing I'm going to do is import the sound of the door creaking open. I'm going to import this as kind of a global sound, so I'm going to go to File and Import, and find the Shadowgate graphics pack. If you don't have it, you can download it in the link below. And I'm going to find this door opening wave. And when I click on that, it won't look like anything is done. However, when I add sounds, that sound will now be available. In fact, you can see that sound if you make sure that the world object is selected, go to Properties, and scroll down to expand sounds. You'll see door opening is now a sound that we can use. And if I hit play, this is what the door opening sound sounds like. So it's not really overbearing, it's just the click of a door and then the creaking as it opens. And there's a couple places that I want to import this into my game. Now the first place that I would want that sound to play is when the user opens the front door to the castle. Now I know that that is screen number 1, and all of the code that handles the opening of the door is in my screen 1 handler. So let's drag this out to our programming window so we can take a look at it. Now this is actually a pretty simple addition right here, because I know that this block, this do together block right here, is what executes when the door is clicked on to open. The second else block right here is what transitions from screen 1 to screen 2 and puts them in the hallway. But the door wouldn't open and click when they're moving, only when they open it the first time. So all I need to do to make the sound play when the door is opened is add the command play sound to that block. Now we're going to need an object to play that sound, so I'm just going to have the screen 1 door closed object. I'm going to select that because that's where I'll be able to get the play sound from. You won't see that if you keep the world selected. You have to have a specific object. So screen 1 door closed is where I'm going to have the sound play, and I'm going to drag screen 1 door closed play sound into this do together block. Now if I've done this correctly, you should see world door opening on your list in addition to all the default sounds. So I'm going to select world door opening, and you can see that this is a 3.3 second sound file, but it should play now when I click on the door. So let's hit play, enter our game, and now when I click on the door, we get a pretty simple sound effect that plays after the user clicks on the door. Now the second place that I would want this to happen is when the door opens in the hallway that leads into the Banshee room. So I'm going to do this in the exact same way that I did for the front door of the castle. I know that that's in screen 2, so I'm going to go to my world methods, drag my screen 2 handler over here so I can take a look at it. Much in the same way that we programmed the first door, this do together block right here that runs when the door is closed is the code that opens the door. Since this is the code that opens the door, I'm going to go to screen 2 door closed this time. Drag play sound into that do together block and select world door opening. And then I'll finally end by testing this out. Start the game. We have the sound effect that plays there. And now when we click on this door, that same sound effect plays. So no matter how big your game is, as long as you're comfortable using the same sound effect for every door, you could add one simple line of code to every door that opens in your game and give it kind of a little bit of more personality, because it will play the creaky door sound when the doors open. The next sound that I want to import is kind of some heroic sting music that plays when the user picks up the sword. So let's go to File and Import. And from that graphics pack that's downloadable in the link below, I'm going to have heroic sting music play. So this is music that I had just downloaded off of freesounds.org. And if we go to World Properties, we should see this under Sounds now, and we do. It's a 6.7 second sound file that sounds like this. So I want that to play whenever the user picks up the sword. Now if you remember back to when we programmed the sword, we actually have a method in the item sword object on our object tree called pickup. So I'm going to go to item sword, select method, and drag our sword pickup here to my programming window. I know I want that sound to play when the sword is picked up, and this is the method that controls the sword being picked up. Just like we did in the other for the doors, I'm going to select item sword play sound. Now that we've imported the sting music, I'm going to use world heroic sting music, and I'm going to put that in the do together block along with the animation. And we're going to hit play and test this out. Now when I click on the sword, we should get the heroic music to play. And it seemed to work correctly, so now we can open the door. We can head into the Banshee room. And we've got a victory. Now those are the only 2 sound files that I have in the graphics pack, but you could go into freesounds.org and download any sounds that you wanted for any event. So just to provide one more example, we're going to reuse our sting music, and we're going to have that play when the user presses space to start the game. So let's go ahead and go to our world methods, and I know that the first thing that we did was we made a game start method. So I'm going to take a look at the game start method here. See, there's only 3 lines of code that are used to start the game. But with our title screen, let's go ahead and play a sound. And let's play the heroic sting music. Because that's in the do together block with the rest of the code, when the user presses space to start the game, that music will play now. Now, it doesn't have to be the sting music. Again, it can be anything that you've downloaded before or anything you've gotten off the internet, so you can really be creative with how you do the sounds. The one thing to kind of keep in mind, though, is the entire sound will play before the game starts. So you don't want something that's too long. If you get a 2 or 3 minute long song, Alice does not have the ability to stop music on command. So once you hit play, it's got to play start to finish. So let's take a look at what this does to our game. So now we get that fancy sting music. We've got the doors that play a small sound effect. We have the sword that plays heroic music when you pick it up. The second door creaks. And that's it for sound effects in our game. But you could add some kind of cooler sound effects, maybe a banshee screaming or a loud scream. You could play background ambiance music while the game is going. All kinds of stuff that you can do. But this is where we're going to leave the Let's Build Alice series this time. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how to program a more complete game in Alice. A lot of beginning Alice programmers are able to write really small animations and kind of smallish games, but very few that have any sort of depth. Now, while this game doesn't have a ton of depth, it is more involved and more advanced than what I normally see out of Alice projects. So hopefully this showed you that you can make larger games in Alice, and they're not really that difficult. You could take what we did in this episode right here and really start to expand it and make something kind of cool. There are some other ideas that I'm kicking around for the Let's Build series in Alice, though. We can recreate a number of different games, so in the coming months, watch for that, because we're not just stop with Shadowgate. We are going to develop many other games in Alice so that you can see there's different styles of games that you can recreate in Alice and kind of make them pretty cool. As always, I'd like to thank everybody for their support of the Let's Build Shadowgate series and the Learning to Program in Alice series that are available on this channel. Now, as always, if you have any questions, if there's something you want to add to your game that you quite don't know how to do, or there's anything that I can help you with to make you a better programmer, let me know in the comments and I will be happy to help you out. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.